all the info on the 2025 Worlds Bundle. How much are Riftbound prize cards worth, and what decks are we building first? All that and more on this week's episode of The Winning Point.
I got nothing. This is the actual death of the cold open.
You don't have to do a cold. You can just go. You can just get in there because we have an intro right before.
Oh, that's right. We've got an intro to The Winning Point, episode number 19, almost in our 20s here. I am Blevins. That is Casanova, and that all the way over there, I reach really deep into the camera, is Charmer. What is up, friends? How you doing?
It's crazy he does that, and then they're just going to take solos, so you don't even see the bit that he's doing at the start of that. I'm doing well. I'm really getting excited for the launch, right? I mean, we'll keep saying it every week leading up from here on, how excited we are for the launch, but it's starting to feel real. We got some really great fun plans for right out the gates that are going to start kicking off, and it's just getting prepared for all of that and getting prepared to start really cranking on Riftbound content, and also getting to actually play the game with physical cards, which I'm very excited for.
I am also very excited for the launch. I am really looking forward to the time that we're going to spend together, because I know that we've scheduled some things. I know that we're going to remind folks about our time at the Star City Games convention, where we're going to be covering Riftbound. But also we got some other things lined up that I'm really excited for. And other than that, I'm just very itchy. I got a rather large new tattoo, and I'm at the stage in healing where I just want to scratch my entire arm off. So I'm fighting through it.
That is one. That is a phase that I don't miss. I only have one tattoo, but it was I think a relatively big one for someone's first tattoo. And when you get your first tattoo when you're 30, rather than when you're 18, like most people, when they get their first tattoo as a mistake or an impulse. I plotted and planned for 30 years and got a Simpsons tattoo. So that was, don't know where I was going with that. But what I do know is that I'm also very excited about Riftbound. Look, I just recorded an episode of Battlefield Breakdown, and Swindle can attest to this. I don't think I took an entire breath in the 35 minutes of the episode. It was just boom, straight on. I'm running on fumes and excitement here for Riftbound, and things to get excited about are tournaments, and things that excite you about tournaments are prizes in tournaments. And we got some info about a prize card from the regional tournament. It was the first place Misfortune prize card, sold for this is with conversion here, but a little over $9,000. Cass, this is kind of crazy to think.
Yeah, this was specifically the first place one from Hangzhou, and I mean, we were expecting prize cards to go kind of crazy in Riftbound with the League of Legends IP being so popular. The first place prize being, I think, so unique. It's currently one of 4. There will be more of them, of course, over the course of the until they retire this specific prize card. However, there's not going to be a lot of these first place ones, and the Misfortune itself, it isn't printed in that same look and just has a stamp like some of the other promos have been in the game so far. This is an alternate art, right? It is that prestige version, and it's a pretty card. I think this is kind of comparable to some other games. I think this seems lower than Lorcana and One Piece. I'm not as big of an expert on those, but I think it's a little bit lower than those cards. However, it's kind of on par with a calling win in Flesh and Blood. Very close to the gold foil Crown of Providence or gold foil Balance of Justice, the prices that those would have gone for in the past. A bit higher than the current one in Fab Callings, but that's just viability of the equipment that's happening to be as the calling number 1 placement or at the Stonewall Gauntlets. But yeah, 9,000 it feels shocking, but honestly, part of me is that's not that surprising of a figure to be seeing for this. However, I think it will be a pretty big incentive for people coming to play in Houston and the other qualifiers in the future. Is like, well, that first place is not only 6,000 USD, but also maybe another 9 grand on top of it.
Yeah, the interesting bit, you know, you compared it to like Lorcana and One Piece. For me, the interesting bit is just that it might not have fetched as much, but the fact that we're even kind of in that same conversation, I think speaks a lot about the IP of League of Legends as well, right? I think one of the reasons that Lorcana and especially One Piece have expensive cards is because there are also so many collectors that are just not very invested in the game, but if they really want one of those, then they just have to buy it off of a competitive player, right? Whether that's Disney adults, whether that's people that are a huge fan of the manga, etc. And so, you know, you mentioned the Flesh and Blood thing. Obviously, Flesh and Blood, very competitive game, a lot of diehard collectors there as well, but it's not like a universal intellectual property. And so with League of Legends, we're kind of like in this interesting bit where, you know, 10 years ago, think there would be as much demand, but because of shows like Arcane now, it's kind of hit a bit more of the mainstream media, and I think we're going to have more kind of casual collectors potentially interested in pieces like this. So I'm kind of with you. At first I'm like, it's shocking, but it's also kind of not shocking. You know, as a point of comparison, you know, you mentioned Flesh and Blood. I was trying to look it up while you guys were getting stuff prepped. So Star Wars Unlimited, that's another game that has prize cards. The sector qualifiers, so they have events where they have like planetary qualifiers, sector qualifiers, and then they have for this new season that's starting, they're going to have like a regional championships, and then of course their big galactic championship, which is like their world championship. The sector qualifiers, the way that it works is when you finish, if you're in the top 8, you get like top 8 stamped versions, and then it's top 4 finalist if you come in second, and then champion if it's first. There's no sales yet, but there is one listed. It's a Kylo Ren for the most recent one that is listed on TCG at 7,500. So even if you say like, okay, it's listed at that, but it's not sold. But even if somebody took like, you know, 2/3 value, that's, you know, like $5 grand-ish, which is pretty on par with where Flesh and Blood is. So the Misfortune falls like above that range, but below the One Piece Disney. So it's in a really kind of interesting and unique spot.
It's interesting, you know, you did mention that like, hey, there's these collectors that have come from Arcane. There's, you know, these other collectors for in-universe. We're just seeing this with just a Misfortune. Like, if this was a different champion or a different skin that's maybe more popular, that price actually could continue to jack up, right? We're only seeing this first example with Misfortune. Not an unpopular champion, but not particularly the most popular in League of Legends. Not even really remotely that close when it comes to just like the greatest popularity, right? So 9 grand and it's just Misfortune, I guess, is how I'll frame it, I suppose, is a ton. And maybe we will reach the same heights as something like a Lorcana or a One Piece if we say, for instance, got a Jinx that was like an alt art that was like the powder AU from Arcane, and it's like that thing goes insane, right? Or a Vi, but it's Violet. Or Warwick, but it's actually just Vander or something like that. Like there's like these ways that you could really go crazy with, you know, I'm just giving Arcane examples, but even just like Elementalist Lux, I think would sell for a ton. I think there's a lot of the other champions that are just more popular that could really make something go crazy.
I shudder to think about what would be the price tag on something that would be like the Ari skin, but it's the faker Ari skin, because that alone is just like $500 for the digital skin. So the trading card version's got to be at least 10x, right?
Yeah, signed by faker, right? You know,
Well, signature cards. I mean, they legitimately could just have like world signature cards. I'm actually it's really interesting hearing all the different points, and I'm really curious what you in the comments think as well. The prize cards in general, but I'm thinking of it from, you know, I come from the whatnot collector side. Like people would come in, like when Lord of the Rings was still on the hunt for the One Ring, we got people coming in from like hockey card streamers, Pokemon, every TCG, but also like sports cards collectors, also people who didn't even collect sports cards, but were just like sports memorabilia, like people that were selling, Jeff Bagwell signed first baseman gloves from 1996. Like those people were coming in and buying packs of Lord of the Rings. Shout outs to anyone who gets that really obscure Houston Astros reference from the late 90s, early 2000s.
I was just going to say that's almost as old as my Magic references.
Yeah, it is. It is. There's some things that make me think that this is a high number for a card like this, but there's also maybe an equal number of things that make me think it's a low number. On the one hand, all the things that you said about, Misfortune not being super popular, the game still being in its infancy and not reaching the mainstream popularity. Even if Arcane has kind of hit that mainstream, or at least scratch the mainstream, it's obviously not comparable to something like the Mickey promos, where there's just like people who have collected Disney their entire life. Like that's just on site, whatever, just write the blank check, or sign the blank check. And in One Piece, to a similar extent, like anime has that collecting, it's built into it, right? We saw in Magic with Final Fantasy, like I did not quite grasp the level that people were going to want to collect the Final Fantasy Magic set. I'm like, oh, these cards are good and they're kind of rare because they're short printed or whatever. It broke the multiple week record for sales in 2 days for Wizards of the Coast, because people were collecting. It was not driven by gameplay at all. I don't know to the extent that League of Legends drives that. We just don't know in general yet, right? Obviously, people spend a ton of money on skins. People buy Riot merch all the time. And we'll see how that plays into Riftbound and these collectible things. The one thing for me that this has over a lot of the other things that we've talked about is that it is one of the first. There are people who will pay premiums for the first thing. It doesn't really matter what it is. There are people that collect that. This is like an absolutely exclusive item from one of the first events that happened, period, for Riftbound. So that is, it puts it in a tier above, even in my mind, it puts it in a tier above in some ways, above these top cards in Flesh and Blood, or Magic has prize cards for events as well that routinely the top 8 ones go for multiple thousands of dollars. Those generally scale with playability of the card, and not just rarity. The playability of this card is not going to impact the price at all, I don't think.
No, probably not.
People aren't going to want to play, take it out of the plaque and play with this card. If it were a legend card, maybe, because you could just slam the plaque on there. Yeah, there you go. There's for the podcast listeners. Magic the Gathering's Final Fantasy expansion made $200 million in just one day. That is sort of, they've publicly said that is sort of their metric for success, how long it takes a set to make $200 million. Lord of the Rings, I believe, was the fastest to do it up until Final Fantasy, which it did in a number of weeks. And then Final Fantasy did it in one day. So
this article says Lord of the Rings was 6 months, right?
6 months. There you go. Yeah.
And Final Fantasy did the same in a day. It was insane.
Yeah. So the level of collecting for certain IPs is at a level that is hard to calculate. And I don't know where League of Legends lines up in that world. So in some ways, if this was a Titus Commander card for Magic the Gathering, and it was one in a similar fashion as this, it would be going for significantly more than this, because there are cards in the set of Final Fantasy that are going for more than this, and you can open them out of boosters. So, yeah, I'm really interested to see and keep an eye on the price history of these prize cards, especially the first ones, considering all the other factors around it that we talked about up until this point. But yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about the prize cards in general. What do you think about this one specifically? Is it too high? Is it too low? How much would you pay for a prize card of Misfortune?
One last thing on this that is also kind of interesting. There are things that could really impact the value of this going forward, just because there's a lot still on the menu for Riot Games, right? We have 2XKO that's going to be releasing later. Obviously, they've said like Arcane is done, but I'd be shocked if they didn't do another project. There's a lot of rumors about maybe a Demacia centered thing. I'd love to see a Bilge akin to like the Ruined King game. But also, we know there's an MMO that's been in development for a long time. And so when any of those hit, there's a chance that some of these things might also spike, right? The only reason I mentioned that is because, again, like this was Misfortune. And right now it's hot because it's the only one. But if she becomes popular later because of a show, because of a new game, etc.,
yeah, that's true,
then it could spike.
I agree. I think that all things considered, obviously, spending almost $10,000 on a card is a tough pill to swallow, but I'm honestly, I'm kind of here for it, if I'm being honest. But let's move let's move on here. We talked a little bit about this last week, but we have now images of the Worlds bundle here. And I'm going to be honest, I'm a little impressed at this Worlds bundle. We talked about how we didn't want another Teemo promo, but this is the Teemo legend.
Yeah,
it's not the same one that we already have 6 promos for. I'm actually like looking at it all. You can see it on the YouTube version here. But yeah, I'm actually having looked at the product. I'm kind of here for it, guys.
I'm unfortunately really into it. Like I don't want to keep buying these things, right? Like the Arcane one, it's really cool. I've got my copy, whatever, but like I don't want to keep buying these over and over again. It's not the type of person I am when it comes to these like the card games. I'm not this big collector. I like to play the games. And I think that it's good that these products exist for collectors and just in general for the game. It's like good to have this kind of stuff, but usually I just kind of ignore them. And the problem is I will say all of my friends that I play Fab with, a lot of my other friends, whenever I was talking about the game, I would say the same thing. I would say, you know what, like it's just like Fab. I'm just gonna get my cards. I'm gonna get my play sets. They'll sell the bling, whatever. It's all good. And they said, nah, we know you. Riftbound is League. That's been your life. For a lot of your life, you've done a lot of stuff with Riot Games, which I have. And it's going to tempt you. It is going to tempt you like the One Ring for Gollum. You're going to have it. And they're a little right, I think, because I see some of this stuff and it's like, yeah, that fucks. It's really good. The Teemo is really good. I'm not even that big of a Teemo fan, but this Panda Teemo Legend looks great. The playmat looks really clean. It looks really nice. It is this like memorable mat from Worlds 2025, right? And it's in China, so it has the Chinese as well for it. The deck box looks good. The sleeves look great. The case it all comes in is just really like sleek and nice. I don't remember the price on this. I don't know if either of you guys do, but
it's $99.99.
Yeah, $100 is I'm not gonna say it's a good deal, but I might be willing to part with $100 for it. The battlefields also look amazing in this. Yeah. I don't know. It looks really good. I'm upset that it looks so good, actually, because I don't want to buy more of this stuff, but it looks great. And if you're a collector who is invested in League of Legends esports, and then you're also excited about Riftbound, it feels like a big win. And I say this in this most depressing tone because I'm probably going to buy this. I've been suckered in.
I'm really excited for it. I'm excited for it because I think that the mat looks outstanding. It said in the article that it's, a foil mat. Now that we've seen the image, I have to assume that it's the kind of like gold portions. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that on the black is just going to really pop. I'm also a sucker for playmats that just have zones outlined. Like I prefer my Flesh and Blood ones to be like that. I like that this one has all of it outlined. I really like the deck box. I think that I'll hold my judgment for the sleeves. Sleeves are very hit or miss for the quality. Usually for stuff like this, I'm very hesitant, but sleeves have been slowly getting just like better and better in general. True. Not any one brand, just, overall quality's been, it feels like getting better. But for me, it's two big things that jump out. One, it's the Teemo Legend. So now we can play our Teemo promos, and we can have the Teemo legend, and I can do all of the really annoying Yordle things. But it's also it's the battlefields, right? So I can't wait to just be obnoxious at locals and play some deck that runs like Aspirant's Climb, because we know that's one of them, for example. And like, yeah, you can have the card for, when you're making your selections or whatever, but then when you pop out the big one and you slam it down and you're extra obnoxious about it, like that's just going to fill me with joy. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I'm partially in the cast category of being a little bit depressed that I'm going to have to buy this. Because so there was once a time in my life where I would just sight unseen buy every single secret layer that came out. So I was at one point in time that guy. I'm no longer that person for a number of reasons that mostly include money. But it's also like, I really want them to keep putting out awesome stuff because that's awesome for everyone. And it's a matter of, it always goes back to the shark pool video, which I found out, by the way, does actually exist. I didn't Mandela effect myself. It's from College Humor. You can look it up. Maybe we'll post the link in the description. I don't know. It does actually exist. You don't have to get in the pool if you don't like this. That's fine. It does not impact you in any way, shape, or form. But if you do like it, that's great. You can buy it. I believe I did actually just check this. It will go live, and this will be relevant for you on October 28th at 9 a.m. PT. We only have a couple of instances of these sort of drops happening. The first one being the boxes and other products going live on the website for the first time, which was kind of cursed. But the Arcane promo actually, I thought, went pretty smoothly.
Yeah, Arcane was smooth.
Basically, everyone I talked to or heard from that wanted one got one. It was up for I think like 10 or 12 hours or something, and then it was either sold out or they stopped doing it or whatever. So all signs lead to probably being able to get this if you want it. Granted, there are extra things like the playmat and the deck boxes and sleeves and the packaging, I guess, that probably mean that there were fewer of or it would be harder for them to have made as many, I guess. But also, I have no idea. So I would imagine
you're
that
also.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say real quick, you're also only going to get one, right? I think
you can get
part of the other
two.
thing is you definitely had the people like myself with the Arcane stuff that you wanted to play set because you actually play with your promos. But with this, because it's a mat, it's a deck box, it's a legend, you only need one. So yes, I expect there to be less, but I also think the demand will be
the demand will be less,
roughly 1/3.
They are also on the website limiting to 2 per, I guess, account. So that will, I would imagine, I would hope that it will go smoothly as as last one. So if you are interested in any of these products, I would say probably get them. If you look at, I've been keeping an eye on prices for things. The Arcane promos have gone up in price from MSRP if you're looking to buy them on the secondary market. So if you're interested in this product, be on the Riot website and logged in with your Riot ID, Riot merch website on October 28th at 9 a.m. Pacific time to try to get that. I'm definitely going to be buying minimum one, probably the second
maximum
one, because
two.
why not? Minimum one, maximum two. Yeah, is where I will be there. But in the same article, we also had another. It was it was at the beginning of the article, but it was. I guess it wasn't hidden because it was at the beginning of the article. I don't know why I'm thinking it's hidden, but it was. I feel like I haven't seen it talked about. We've got a restock coming in across Riftbound for set 1. So right here you can see it on screen if you're watching YouTube. But for the podcast listeners, they say next talking about us. We have been hard at work ensuring players can get their hands on cards on October 31st. And to make that happen, we're printing an additional run of Origins right now that should make it to your local game store in time. The restock will let your local stores carry more Riftbound to support in-store play, as well as their local Riftbound communities. Find your nearest store, blah, 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 blah. And they also are saying that if you can't make it to a store, we'll be reopening pre-orders of the Origin Booster Box on the Riot Games merch store on October 16th at 9 a.m. PST, which you may have already missed depending on when this episode comes out. But if the people on this call are listening, that is in 3 days where they'll be opening that up. So a lot of people were calling for this. Again, we just talked about how the first wave of pre-orders on the Riot merch website was kind of cursed.
Yeah.
We will see how they react and respond to that with this restock for online. But I'm actually more interested in the store restock. Cass, what are you thinking about the fact that they're saying, hey, we see the demand. We want to make sure that stores are supported. Here we are doing another wave.
Yeah, I don't know about you guys, but every store I've talked to kind of got less allocation than they wanted, basically, right? I know some got, plenty, like they got a lot, but they were still underneath what they asked for and what they were trying to get. And then I also have heard of stores that have gotten like so little that it's horrible. Like they got a single case or something. They're getting like 6 boxes that they can sell. And I think it's really good that we're getting another wave already coming through, recognizing that, hey, this is way more popular than we thought for the first wave. So let's just get that second wave already ready to go. So I think people probably shouldn't panic too much on the first wave if like the boxes, because the boxes are already like pre-selling higher than MSRP. And I think that's crazy. And I think people should maybe, be okay like waiting a little bit for that second wave to come out and see if that can bring the prices back down. And not, get destroyed on FOMO out the gates. There's also ways that you can buy cards from China because they print a lot, as long as you're comfortable playing your entire deck and your entire collection in Chinese. Right. So there's other ways to not get priced out and not, be, I guess, kind of wary of everything coming through. But as far as for like me, it was easy. I went with one store that I'm really comfortable with and friends with, and I was able to get a case pre-ordered, which I wasn't sure that I'd be able to get a case anywhere with the allocation stuff, but I was able to get a case. And then at another store, I was able to get one additional box. So I'll be able to probably build a good amount of decks early on. That's what, like 7 boxes. So that I was able to find access to for myself. I don't know about you guys, if you've been able to find boxes okay, or if your stores have been really struggling to get what you need.
So I'm not going to reveal like names of stores or anything, but I've reached out to a bunch of different stores in the area and allocations are not good. One of the stores is, I know the folks pretty personally. They wanted, their initial order was going to be like 600 boxes and they got 22. Yeah. So they are already trying to figure out like, okay, what do we do for not just pre-orders, but like, how do we run events, right? Because you want to hopefully have some stuff for prizes, keep people engaged, etc. I think my collection, at least for this first set, is going to be very piecemeal. I also was, trying to just put in a pre-order for a case because that's what I was expecting to do. And instead it looks like I'm probably going to get like one box from, 6 or 7 different places, and then I'll figure it out.
Yeah. I've heard kind of the full gambit of what you two are saying, where people got really cut on distribution. I've also heard some stores that are saying, yeah, we got sort of plenty for what we're needing. Now, that may also mean that they're in an area that is not super hyped about Riftbound. So they're like, yeah, we got like a few cases and there's like 1 or 2 people that are interested. So that may be where the sort of disconnect is there. It is really important, in my opinion, that this second wave is happening, because a lot of it ticks the boxes of a lot of people's concerns, right? I think many people's concerns revolve around, holy crap, I'm not going to be able to play the game because there's just not cards to play, and I am not going to pay exorbitant secondary market prices for stuff when I don't have to. And this happened really heavily at the release of Lorcana. If you were around for set 1 release of Lorcana, it was nigh impossible to get for a number of reasons. One of it being it wasn't printed enough. The other being the Disney adult collectors. That sounds derogatory. I just mean collectors of Disney.
And it is.
And it meant to be.
And it's meant to be.
Screw you for liking Ariel. No,
That's really specific.
Yep. But the accessibility of Lorcana at the beginning of set 1 was horrific, and I personally know many people in multiple stores that just it never picked up.
Yeah,
that never recovered. And like they'll get some boxes here or there, and maybe they got a bunch of set 2, and that kind of doubled the bad effects for some stores where it's like, we didn't get anything for set 1. Sorry, customers. They left, went somewhere else, either played at a different store or just gave up on the game. And then they're like, no, by the way, we're going to have set 2. And they're like, yeah, cool, man. I don't play anymore. So like they got left hanging with a bunch of set 2. So they got screwed over by that. I think that this is trying to address that to the ways that they can. There's a lot of things, global distribution. There's a lot of things that are outside of Riot's hands. There's a lot of things that are outside of the hands of the local game stores as well, that Riot is at least taking a proactive step towards. So keep that in mind, even if there is a brief time where it is painful potentially to, pick up cards and get access to cards. It's a long game. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint here. For the game in general, and Riot is taking the necessary and the good steps here to mitigate that. So,
Lev, I think that brings us to our next topic. Not too bad, right? Like we're talking about struggles to get all of the cards early, trying to get everything together. And I think we wanted to talk about like what decks we want to build first for locals. Yeah. We could easily talk about, these are the competitive decks that you should try and build if you want to stop your local skirmish and head to Houston. But no, this is more like you want to go play your Nexus Knights, and what are some of the decks that I think us particularly are excited to build, and we want you guys to all join us in this conversation, and down below let us know like what you are planning to build first for locals and what you're really excited to play. And if you have like full brews, you can let us know those too, but really just what decks you're looking at. And I'll kick us off with like I think 2 of the decks that I'm really interested in building early, or I guess there's 3 that I'm interested in building early. I think the first 2 I'd probably build because I really like movement in the game, or like Yasuo and maybe Annie as some of the first decks that I'll be building. And then on top of that, I really just enjoy playing Leona, and just being the one Leona in the room is going to be kind of fun. So I'll probably build a Leona deck kind of early on to play at Nexus Knights and just kind of have a lot of fun with these decks, because once we get towards if I'm playing any regional qualifiers or anything like that, then we can build the Kaisas, we can build those kind of things. But when I'm just trying to have a little bit of fun,
those secrets here.
Yeah. No, I want to build a little bit of, I want to have a little bit of fun and show new players the mechanics while I beat their asses with moving my stuff across all the battlefields with Yasuo and Annie. What about you guys? What are you thinking, Charmer?
I mean, you just said it. Charm.
Little Ari.
Playing Ari for sure. Yeah, my first 2 decks are going to be Ari and Teemo.
Yeah.
Ari just because it's my favorite League of Legends character, and I actually just really think that the play style is interesting for her. I think now that we've got our hands on the game a bit more, we understand that, there's a reason that holding is one of the ways you can win the game, because holding is actually really hard. Mm-hmm. So I kind of want to try to make use of the champion where you get the extra point specifically for holding and get some practice with that play style. Also Teemo, because the hidden mechanic is cool, and with the Worlds bundle, I'm going to have a cool legend, and I'm going to have like 3 different promos, and I'm going to have, all of the things. So
blinged out Teemo deck.
Those are going to be my first 2.
Low key, I kind of want to just open a box, and whatever overnumbered legend I open, that's the one I'm going to build.
I think that's cool. I think that's sick.
I kind of want to.
I mean, that's fine. I would never have the confidence to say whatever one I open as if it's like a foregone conclusion, right? Like that's why I was laughing.
That's true. I've opened so many cases of Flesh and Blood, and I've literally never opened a Fable. Like never even a single one opened, which is kind of crazy. But I am probably not going to do that. What I'm going to do is play Jinx because I have this sweet Chinese, old style, hideous looking foiled Jinx from the Macau
packs
promos, which is looks horrific, which makes it an even bigger flex. I think there's also some really interesting builds of Jinx that you can do.
There are.
That will be fun and novel for the for locals. Having gotten back and found a store that had a number of players that were interested in learning the game, I have realized that without really knowing it, I've leveled up in terms of my Riftbound basics versus a player who's never played the game before. Whereas when I was teaching before, I'm like, oh, we're just all kind of on the same level. That is not the case anymore. So I am confident, at least at the beginning, that I will be able to take pretty much any deck and do decent enough at the local level, at least while the other players are learning, which I am in the midst of teaching players how to play.
Yeah.
Jinx is definitely going to be one. I mean, gotta go with my Angie boy. It's got to be Darius. I really do. I want to have Hook Darius put together and like all of the possible cards that can go in Hook Darius and have that be my like, this is the one I'm going in the lab in. I want to slowly get better at that deck because I think as I put the reps in, I'm going to see the results of it. And whenever a new set comes out, it's like, oh boy, what do I get to pod for now? This is going to be so fun as sort of a legacy deck moving forward. I'm really excited about that. And then, yeah, there he is, Angie man himself. Yeah. And then another Angie champion. Volibear is just one that I like. I really do enjoy. I'm just, that's the thing, Cap. I'm always Angie. Yeah. Plus, I can play all the staple Angie cards in just one in one deck. I also want to make Tryndamere work somewhere, somehow. It's probably with Ride the Wind. It's a sweet card. Alt WinCon card. I'm in.
Yeah. I think that you kind of got, there's like another side point to what you're saying about like, going to locals, like the level's going to be lower at first, right? Not everybody's been grinding the game for the past few months because they're not
literally teaching
crazy.
All of the players that are at the store right now. They don't know how to play the game. So
on top of that, your room is probably not going to be 80% Kaisa and Yi when you start playing the game with your locals. So you have a lot more options on like playing anything and having fun and being kind of viable. Like there's a lot of decks that we've talked about on the channel all the time that get a little held down by Falling Star and Kaisa, right? Or they get potentially held down by Master Yi and not being able to get over that. But I think when you go to your early locals and even, locals in general, no matter what game you play, it's a lot more rare for your local weekly tournament, like a Nexus Nights, to just only be the top meta decks everywhere. They're going to show up.
It depends on honestly.
It depends on your local scene and the game. I'm not going to say it doesn't because my local scene for Fab in Utah is all meta decks. So you're just going to see meta. But I think it does open up that you can kind of play the thing you're excited about and that you want to play. Because I actually do think that most, if not all of the legends, based on the testing that I've done, like are reasonably good. They just unfortunately can get smashed by some of the best stuff, which is why we don't see it at the competitive level. But when they're playing against everything else that's not the best, they're all kind of reasonable. They all are able to be played and piloted to some success, especially at a local level. I think you could win with anything if you are really confident and feel good about the game.
This is where we ask for you, the viewers' participation. I'm really going to lock in, right? So I want you to know how serious I am about this. This is not a bit. I need this to be a thing. If you are listening to us, chances are that you're just very invested in the game, right? You're listening to a podcast about a game that has not yet released. This is your chance to be in on the thing. And the thing is, we are all going to play Garen at our locals. We're all going to win a bunch of events in the early stages, and then we all need to post about it online about how Garen is winning every one of our local events. Garen is busted. Garen is the deck. We're going to sell this narrative. Now is your chance to make Garen feel like the most broken deck in the game.
Jordan says, this is not a bit, and then just proceeds to explain the biggest psyop that could possibly happen. To start
psyop, I'll admit to. It is definitely that. But I'm dead serious. Let's make this happen. All right?
I'm in.
Psyop everyone into thinking that Yi and Kaisa are bad.
When I log into Reddit, I need to see just one. This is how I know Will made it, gang. Just one post saying, Riot, please fix your game. Garen is busted. But about Riftbound. Like, I just need one and I'll know we've made it.
I'm in. I'm going to start dominating with Garen. Throw everything I said out. It's Garen.
No, sorry. Unfortunately, Blevins, that he doesn't have Angie in his colors, so you're not allowed to play him.
That is true.
That's the problem there for you. It's funny, though, because we went through this, and it seems like Charmer wants to build out his blue collection early because he's got a couple of blue decks. I want to build out my purple collection early because I got a couple of purple decks that I said I'm going to play. Purple and green, right? Those two colors that kind of hit a lot of stuff. And then Blevins needs to buy his Angie cards. And then we'll have our play sets together on a couple of decks that we'll have early. Eventually, I'd like to have full play sets of everything, and then I can build whatever I need for whatever meta conditions. But I'm a competitive player. That's just how it is with a lot of these games. I like to be able to have those options. Also, we're making content, so I'm going to want to play everything. But early on, the content you'll see will probably be a lot of these kind of jank fun things that we want to see. Garen and some Yasuo and Annie and a little Jinx and some Ari and Teemo, and because I think those are the decks, like, we've been covering the game for a while, and people have seen Kaisa and Yi. We want to show some other stuff, so I think we'll have a lot of fun with that.
Absolutely. And something that we have a lot of fun with when we get the chance to is our, I guess, still technically newest segment. It's Dave on Discord. It is back. I went through and I've scraped and scrabbled through Discord so you don't have to find some comments from lead developer Dave Schron in the Discord here. This one is a comment about standout cards in Origins. Maybe White Flame Protector. Happy it's found a home. Aurora, we knew was strong, but I think has been stronger than we had in playtesting. This was from August. So this is from a little under 2 months ago, saying that Aurora is a bit stronger than we had in playtesting. So this has, been a topic of hot contention in the community, is the power level of Aurora, and showing that it's a bit better than they thought it was, at least.
Yeah, it aged well because it kept feeling like it was getting stronger and stronger. And then it also has kind of fallen off a cliff. So I think it's a little bit regulating, at least when it comes to Western online tournaments. But also when we look at kind of the win rates in best of one formats, even in China, it's actually performed less than I thought. I actually thought in best of one, Aurora would be like even better.
Yeah,
but it's not done particularly amazing in those city challenges. But I think White Flame Protector is a cool call out. This is, I'm pretty sure, I don't know exactly what I ranked it when I did the ranking every card video. Maybe I should have gone and checked that, but it doesn't matter. All I know is in my brain, I thought of that card as being kind of a Timmy card when I saw it. I was like, okay, it's, just this big dragon.
A lot of numbers.
It was part of the, underestimating a lot of high cost cards in this game. I think high cost cards have proven to be really strong, and White Flame Protector does immediately impact the board. And I think anything that immediately impacts the board in a big way has proven to be really strong. Accelerate is good. This is 8 Accelerate as long as you have something on board to give that 8 to.
Yep.
And so, yeah, White Flame Protector is a phenomenal top end card for a lot of green decks. I mean, most green decks can make really good use of this White Flame Protector. And I think it's a great call out from Dave that, hey, this is a good card and it did find a home. I think he's happy it found a home. He's maybe less happy it found a home in Master Yi.
I'll admit that I probably rated it lower than, say, the other dragon, right? I think that just in a vacuum, if you're looking at stuff that defeats units versus stuff that pumps stuff historically in other games, things that control what your opponent is trying to do or removes things from the board tend to be a bit more powerful. But I think we're all kind of learning that Riftbound is a bit more about the numbers sometimes, and that's okay.
Yeah, we're definitely still in keyword big is the best ability in Riftbound right now. And I keep saying, let's take a mental snapshot because I don't think it's always going to be like this.
There it is. Look at that. One
star rating.
Obviously, I don't agree with this anymore, but this is what I mean. I love this old video because people keep watching this. I don't know if any of you have noticed this. When we released this video, it went up to about 4,000 views. It is sitting at 10,000 views. And a lot of the views on this video have come in the last month. Right? Is not, and so people are seeing these takes. I went back and put a comment on it saying, hey, this was early. I don't want you to take this stuff as law, but it opens up the conversation, and it is so funny to look back and see me and Mo looking like idiots giving a White Flame Protector a 1. Because, a lot of the high cost stuff, we were like, Timmy card, you're not going to be able to really play this. And
Cass,
boy,
are
were we
you
wrong.
saying that we need to do a review of the review?
Yeah, so that one needs to be 10 hours.
Yeah, I was going to say
course.
10-hour review of the review.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comment section below, chat, if you want to see a review of the review video. And if that comment gets 1,500 likes, then we'll record it. There you go. I'm putting that out there. Anyway, let's move on to the next day on Discord question here. This is on Fiora and Rumble being the legends for the the precon decks. We chose champs for precons based on a number of factors: popularity, accessibility, the archetype, complexity, and fun level. So kind of what you would expect, but it is interesting that those got picked. And because there's 12 champions that they could have picked, or legends rather, they could have picked for the precon decks. I don't know that we can really use the precons from the first set as any sort of marker for these factors because...
Kind of, right? This is Jinx, Victor, Lee Sin, right? Are the first 3 precons that we're getting. I think Jinx... Well, I guess
archetype complexity means low archetype complexity when for some reason I was thinking they want something more complex. No.
Yeah, they want it low. So sense. I think Jinx, Victor, Lee Sin all kind of hit kind of all of these marks. Popularity, all 3 of those are incredibly popular League champions. 2 of them mainly because of Arcane, but
2 in Arcane,
Lee Sin is incredibly popular as a League of Legends champion. And then when we're looking at the accessibility of the strategies, they're all pretty accessible overall, I think.
Yeah. No, you're right.
Overall pretty fun, I think. Easy to play. Yeah, I think they're all relatively easy at the very base level of understanding.
Literally the order that you said the legends is the order that they match the thing, right? Popularity, Jinx, obviously incredibly popular. Complexity / accessibility is Victor. Very straightforward. Just makes a dude. What's more, straightforward than that? And then when you're looking at fun stuff, Lee Sin makes things bigger. And who doesn't like to make numbers go burr? So literally, I think that's the roadmap. And I'm not surprised that we have Fiora. I expect Fiora to be probably similar to Lee Sin in some capacity based on what the Fiora champion does in Origins. It wouldn't shock me if she deals with like mighty stuff or things of that nature. And then Rumble's probably on the other end of the spectrum because we know he's what Mind Angie, right?
Yeah, Mind Angie.
Yeah.
What I'm interested in, Fiora and Rumble, when it comes to popularity, I'm curious. The popularity factor on these ones is interesting to me because Rumble isn't unpopular, but it's not historically one of the more popular champions. He's picked in pro, but he's not really like something that people are... He's not often somebody's favorite champion is Rumble. Fiora, on the other end, I think does have like a lot of... I think a little bit more into that popularity section. I think people really like Fiora. And I looked through it. I'm curious, like, will we get one more precon that just hasn't been shown yet? Would it be Ezreal? That's a very popular champion. Draven's a very popular champion. So I'm a little surprised just that it's Fiora Rumble when we see this rubric of popularity being one of those inclusions. But it may just be that the complexity of some of the more popular legends this time around is just maybe a little bit higher than they're comfortable with for the precons, and so they go with something like Rumble instead. It makes you start cooking on like what's the legend ability if these are the ones they think are a little bit more simple. Is it like a really easy thing that they're doing instead of, I don't know, going crazy with it?
I don't think that we're going to get another precon just because I've talked with retailers and they're already able to order stuff for Spirit Forged, and there's only the 2 decks, unless they're like keeping it
secret
really
third
precon.
Just
third precon being released later. I'm sure we'll talk more about the precons after release because I think that there's a bigger discussion to be had with them and the like where that product sits in terms of who it's for. But that is for another time. But for this time, we're going to move on to our favorite section of the show. That is, of course, our viewer mailbag. And if you want to get on a show yourself and want to be on the mailbag, leave your question in the comments section below right here on the Turn 'em Sideways YouTube version of the Winning Point. Here we've got from Crispy TCG says, no clue if you guys know any of the regions from League's lore, but what regions would you like to see come to Riftbound? Which champions from that region? Well, we're all from Legends of Runeterra, where the colors in that game were literally the regions of League. So even if there were no other prior experience outside of that, we would definitely have a pretty extensive knowledge of the regions in League's lore. I'll start this one because mine's quite straightforward. I want to see Bilgewater. I love the vibe of Bilgewater, that like, I don't know, like the port town, like I don't know what time period that would be, from 1800, 17, whatever, like that, like European port town, like, you know, seedy characters doing crime and other things on the ports and docks of Bilgewater. I just love that vibe. I love a lot of the like wacky characters that come from that too. You know, Demacia is a bit more serious. Noxus is quite serious. Bilgewater, you start to get into like more what I would call Pratchett-esque characters. If you're familiar with Terry Pratchett and his fantasy stylings, you're getting a lot more of those types of characters and less like prim and proper generals that are fighting real wars. It's more like, you know, what was Pablo was the boxing octopus. Like, yeah, give me more of that in my life.
Bilgewater's cool. Shout out to my edgelords out there. I think Shadow Isles is one that I'm really excited for. Shadow Isles I'm excited for mostly because I just feel like the mechanics of Shadow Isles are going to lend towards things I like in TCGs, letting me play from my graveyard, letting me, have some sacrifice triggers, that kind of stuff. I expect that to exist somewhat within this Shadow Isles characters, and we even saw that with Karthus, right? He's got the double death knells. I think we're gonna see more and more in that with Shadow Isles. I think asking for some specific champions from that region. I really like Hecarim and Callista's dynamic, and I think there could be some cool stuff there. I think that the Death Realm with Mordekaiser is also quite cool. And Mordekaiser also kind of has some Shadow Isles ties, but also falls into Noxus, which is my other kind of favorite region that I like. But I like Noxus. As you said, it's quite serious, but I like the intrigue of Noxus. You know, like there's this whole dark underbelly of the Black Rose and the control over the Noxian region as a whole. And Swain is one of my favorite champions. I really love that like tactician strategist archetype in fantasy. And so I really like Swain. I like LeBlanc. I think that there's some really cool stuff in that like Noxus political intrigue for some really cool cards. And I definitely would love to see some more Noxus and Shadow Isle stuff.
This is a short answer that's a long answer. The short answer is I'm a sucker for what I describe as like paired champions. Like I love Vi, right? And I kind of fell in love with her because she was released. It was very close to Jinx, and you had the Vi Jinx dynamic, right? Similarly, so one of the two regions that I'm going to mention is Shurima. I love the idea of having a set where we have Nasus and Renekton.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
If you're going to pick some other Shurima ones, I'd like to see Sivir. Rammus is okay.
We're getting Azir in Spirit Forged.
Nasus and Renekton, right? Like another gift for Renekton needs to be a thing. Sorry, if you know, you know. The other one for me though is the Void. Malzahar. So in terms of like my champions that I just enjoy, right? So Ari's stand alone at the top of the mountain, my favorite, and then I love Vi, and then Malzahar is actually my third favorite champion. I'd love to see Malzahar, but I mentioned the paired champions thing because if you're talking about the Void, Kha'Zix falls into that, and that's another one where I think of
Rengar.
like paired champions, right? Kha'Zix and Rengar. I would love to see those two in a set, have some cool interactions, things like that. Other Void champions are just cool as well, though. So like Cho'Gath is awesome, Kassadin is awesome. So I'd take Vel'Koz even.
Yeah, some of the pairs could be cool. You get your Kael Morgana, right? You get your Zyracon. I also think Darkin would be sick in general. Just getting Darkin. all the Darken. I think it's just a very cool concept. I actually think Riot knocked it out of the park with Darken, especially when they fleshed them all out in Legends of Runeterra, really showcasing like just the extent of Darken, and I think that'll make for a fun set. I'm sure they'll get a themed set at some point that's going to have a lot of Darken coming in.
I just can't wait for the Shurima set to happen and all the level up animations. They will bring on Maria Menounos to reveal them all, and it will be the greatest collaboration that literally no one asked for.
Just the deepest cut for any really old fans of specifically Blevins and myself.
Yep. So, yeah. Absolutely. Okay, let's move on here to our next question. This one is from Charles Albert 1763. Hey guys, I come from playing MTG primarily modern, where not only is it a huge advantage to go first, but if you don't have a strong turn one play, you're immediately behind. In your play testing, do you think the additional rune is sufficient benefit to mitigate the advantage of going first? And a follow-up is, have you played an archetype that might even want to go second? Cass, I know you have probably the most experience having actually played competitive matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think I understand kind of where it's coming from, right? Because I think going first in competitive a lot of the time right now does feel pretty advantageous. I think there's a lot of matchups where going first does matter a lot, getting basically units on board to try and be the first to score points and get that lead on point tempo. It feels like it matters a lot in the current meta. However, I do think the extra rune is kind of enough of a benefit. I do think it matters a lot, and there's a lot of things that can become really powerful from that, and that ties into the second part of the question. Are there decks that actually want to go second? I think there's an easy example that's been in the meta and been a good answer to some of the best decks, which was Aurora Misfortune, specifically on your Obelisk game. Going second is so powerful, having access to 4 runes out the gates where you can play a Catalyst on your very first turn of the game. And so you can build strategies around that where you want to go second on certain games where you play your Obelisk battlefield to have access to 4 runes and basically skip that first turn. You don't need to play a 2-drop, you just play a 4-drop or something like that immediately. And so while I don't know that there's that many decks that want to go second every game, I think there are decks that want to set up strategies where they specifically pick second on certain games. And I think that's something we'll continue to see throughout this game's lifespan, is having certain maybe sideboarded matchups or battlefields that you select where you do want to go second when you have that battlefield out. And so you maybe pick that as your counter pick to play it, or your opponent always wants to go first, and so you're able to put that battlefield out when they select, because you know that even with that battlefield, they'll still want to go first. So there are decks, certainly, and there may be more in the future that do want to go second. I've even experimented with building a deck that takes advantage of the fact that everybody wants to go first, and so you always get to go second, and tries to build around the fact that you'd have that extra rune. I middling results, but it's just the fact is I think there's a lot of room to explore that. The very short answer, first certainly feels like it currently has an advantage, and it might be a rather large one. I do think the rune is probably sufficient, and I think that there are decks that likely do want to go second. There you go. Everything answered.
Yeah. What I will add is that it's just set one. So when I approach this question, to me, it's not just, is there an archetype right now that wants to go second? It's, can I envision there ever being an archetype that wants to go second? And I can imagine a lot. So I think that the rune will probably be enough, because simply, answering with your own, quote unquote 2-drop, and then maybe playing a gust could be enough in some matchups, or playing something that's really significant on 3 could be enough. I think that there's a lot of design space in this game as well, specifically when I think about power costs, because you have to remember, it's not just the energy cost that 3rd rune gives you, it's also an additional power cost. And so as we get more sets beyond just Origins, I think that there is very likely going to be a case where there's going to be decks that want to go first and decks that want to go second, very similar to the way like Flesh and Blood is right now.
Yeah. The last thing I'll add is kind of a summation of what both of you said. It is actually taking into account the fact that you get that extra rune in deck building. I don't think it's been explored as much because it is sort of a weird balancing mechanism that is in Riftbound that's not in other games. So a lot of times it's like, oh yeah, I'm disadvantaged if I'm going second. I just accept that because that is the case for most games. Whereas like, nope, I can actually build my deck. Like you said, Cass, you can sideboard, you can have your battlefields be around that. There's a lot of things you can do that can mitigate that going second quote unquote disadvantage and actually turn it into an advantage. If your deck is built around, 3 drops, all of a sudden, maybe you want to go second, maybe you choose to go second if you win the die roll, etc. It's just things that maybe haven't been fully explored. And then again, Charmer says, as new cards come out, that will be even a bigger pool of cards to explore that question with. But really great questions. Really
So
great
good.
questions, guys. I'm not doing it. Leave your comments in the comments section below. Keep them coming. That was a great series of questions. We've really been getting great questions here every week on the pod, and we love to see it right in the comment section below. But that is going to be it for this episode of The Winning Point. Again, thank you everyone who has watched and stayed with us. Like, comment, and subscribe, all that good stuff. Leave your comments and make sure that if you're going to be in Vegas at SCG-Con, that you come and say hi. And if not, check out the broadcast right here on the Turnham Sideways channel. There it is. SCG-Con, November 23rd is going to be that Riftbound event. Super excited for that. But that is going to be the end of this episode of The Winning Point. I've been the Blevins for Casanova, for Charmer.